Hey everybody, Chad Shimabukuro here with Keller Williams. I get a lot of questions asked as a broker, how to put your listings together. So I'm not talking about the consult itself. I'm not talking about how to walk them through the steps of reviewing prelim and so forth. But this is assuming all those things are already done and you've done them correctly, and you're now inputting that information into the system, into zip forms, and then sending that over to your BIC, your broker in charge, for review and approval, and then of course then to your client. So I just wanted to give you a couple of tips. Everyone does it a little bit different. There's no right or wrong way, but hopefully I can shed some light on how to do that, what to look for, and so forth. So as you can see, this is my screen here in front of me. I'm going to start here with the zip form. So I'm just going to make it an empty shell. And I'm going to use an MLS that already is in existence because, again, this is just for an example purpose, but clearly you would not be listing something that is already on the multiple listing service. So I'm just going to call this test. It's a residential. I'm going to hit save. Once ZipForms creates this, it'll pull that up. And I don't know why ZipForms does this, but whenever I make a test account, it just throws in this address in there. But nonetheless, you should always start when you go into ZipForms in the summary. Go into summary, put in the actual address. Again, if you're writing an offer, so you're on the purchase side of things, you can put the MLS number and it'll pull that information over. A very, very helpful tool because it'll grab the TMK and so forth and auto-populate it. In this case, this is a listing. Not on my listing, but this is a listing. So it's this one here. Save that information. Okay. Parties, this is also super helpful. So what I'm going to do is put obviously I don't know the buyers, I know the seller. Assuming that this is my seller. I think his name is Steve Ho. So I'm just going to put this in here. We'll check back on that later. Okay. And then we go to the documents. And this is a template that's in there. So all the listing stuff is dragged into here. And then we need to add more things. So this is before, maybe you've done the consult already. They've said, I want to move forward with you. And you need your broker in charge to review this and have your client sign. And of course, have your broker sign. So getting all these documents together, what do you do? First thing that you should do is start checking public sites. So open up a tab and I'm going to do a tax assessment. This is Q Public. The first thing that pops up. Yes, I accept. Search by address. And hit search. In the meantime, while that's pulling up, I'm also going to open up another one, and I'm going to go to my information service. Remember, login. And this is our firm's account. If you don't have access to that, please ask your BIC and they will provide that to you. So what we're doing here is we're checking public data. We're checking Hawaii Information Service, which we refer to as TMK information, to verify a lot of different things that can go on to ZipForms. We're also checking tax data. What a lot of agents do is they just check Realist. They just check Hawaii Information Service, but they're not checking the tax side. And if you're not checking Q Public for the tax side, the tax that you're looking at may not be accurate and updated. So let's see what it pulled up. Nothing. Let's take a look again here. Maybe it's because of that space that was in there. It is a little fickle. There we go. So the reason why I did that is I had the address of 559 and I hit space. So it recognized the space as a character. So just make sure that you put the accurate information in there. So this is it. This is what we're looking at. This is what we're looking for. Now, when you're looking at this, I'm not sure if any of you can see immediately anything that might pop out as something to be cautious of, red flag. But here's a general rule of thumb: is when you're looking at this is all helpful information. This will also give you a ton of information too. Sometimes this is the exact same information that you'll find on the TMK side. Sometimes it's not. So you want to make sure that you review both thoroughly. When you're looking at all this, you'll notice here that there's no tax exemption. Homeowner exemption is not there. Now, whether it's there or not, when you're putting your listing together, information together for your broker to review, don't include this into the calculation when you're determining what the property tax is broken down on a monthly basis. That's number one. Number two is, if you'll notice here, this is classified, and I've chose this property for this specific reason, is it's classified as residential A or Res A. And what does Res A mean? It means that it's an investment property or a property that does not have this exemption on it, which is the case here. And it's valued over $1 million. So clearly it's valued over $1 million. So what then? How do you do that calculation? Right now, at this present time, the calculation is in two tiers. The first tier is up to $1 million, so it's $4.50 per thousand of assessed value up to $1 million. And $9, I believe, is $9.50 per thousand of assessed value exceeding the $1 million. So in this particular case, this is how you're going to calculate it: is $4.50 up to the first million, and then the remaining 2.363 million is going to be at $9.50. So you have to break that down and calculate it the right way. For regardless of what it breaks down here, just do the math and calculate it the right way, and then put it on your prop type. So just a hint: when you look at these kind of things, you want to make sure that you're looking at the right thing. And also be cautious of, if you're looking at a condotel or a resort, if it's zoned as hotel resort, it also carries with it a different taxable amount. It's not $3.50 either. So make sure that you're looking at that properly. You don't want to put a listing on the market that you can be held liable for because you've miscalculated the taxes, especially because initially when somebody is making an offer on that, they're basing it upon the information that we're putting in the MLS. Okay, so going back over here, we have this information. We have the tax information. We have this information here. So let's pull up this one. So this one is, oops. So it's asking me for, this is going to be street. Allow this to search. So meanwhile, as it's pulling that up, what I'll do here is I'll save this, because I need to import this information into my zip forms. This is the easiest way to do that. So I'm going to save it as a PDF. It asks me how I want to save it, what I want to save it as. I always name it as my client's name is helpful, and what it is. So this is a tax document. So it's the tax for Steve Ho. So I've saved that. Now I switch over here to the TMK information. I can click on this link here. And it'll pull up all the information. So this is also helpful information because some of this I need to move over to this document here. So what am I moving over? I'm looking at things like land size, building size, zoning. You can compare data to see what information's on here versus TMK. And if you have any questions or there's discrepancies, stop and either ask your BIC, ask the seller. There's some discrepancies are just that, it's just a discrepancy, but some things should cause pause. Just for instance, if you've already spoken with them on the phone, and maybe in some cases you're doing all this preemptively and you have not yet met with the client in person for the consult. Well, some things that I would ask myself and look at is it in trust? See the deeds here. Is it in trust? Is there an LLC involved? Is it bank-owned property? Is there a divorce that's for multiple parties? Is there a joint tenancy? Is there other parties that have interest in the property that should be present for the signing that I need to speak with as well? There's a lot of questions that you want to find out. Initially, you can get some of that here. I would absolutely advise you to go to a consult in person and physically have the prelim in hand so that you can review that. with the seller. That's just good practice. But if you can't, for whatever reason, if it's just kind of a last minute thing and you get a call and it's for that day and you don't have time to get that, at least print this out and take this with you and look at it and verify all that information that's with them. And remember, if it is a couple that's going through a divorce, you need to stop and pause, and you need to speak with your broker. There are certain things that we have to recommend that you do to make sure that we're not in violation of things, like speak with their attorney and make sure they have an agreement, or make sure that it's not court ordered in terms of who gets what asset. Okay, so that being said, just like we did before, we are going to save this as a PDF. I'm going to save the whole page, so it makes it a printable version of that. And that didn't help. Let's try that again. So we'll save this, and this one I will call TMK. We have our two documents here, and like I said, there is tax information on here. I don't recommend that you use it because oftentimes, let's see, is there tax information on this one? Yeah, there's tax information on here. I don't recommend that you use it because not always, and this is a good example right here, is it updated. So in this case, 2018 is updated, but if you only look at TMK, or in some cases Realist or what have you, all you're getting is old tax information. And don't be lazy. Look and see what the new tax information is. It may not have synced up yet with QPublic, but QPublic is accessible. It's right here. So for your BIC, when you send in a listing for them to review, please include both. It just makes things so much easier for us. So now switching back over to zip forms, this is the document, the template that you've created, and you're uploading information to it. So I'm going to add a doc to it, and it will ask me where I want to grab it from. I'm browsing for the document. I'm going to add TMK and the tax information. So that should be in there, which it is. And a couple of other things that it might be helpful for you is I like to organize mine in the order in which your BIC wants to receive it. And that makes it easier to kind of keep everything the same. So if you click on this button here, organize, it changes this so that you can drag things and move it around. So I'll drag the TMK to the top because that's important. I'll grab the tax information, drag it up. I typically like to have the listing agreement right after that. I'll have the prop type right after that. And that's good. So these are the components of what you'll need to send over to your BIC. A couple of things might change, like this might change to the condo and townhome version of it if that's applicable to your property type. But this is generally what they need. So when you're done moving this around, you can hit done organizing, and obviously go in there and then fill out all the data. This is not a tutorial on how to fill that data out. You can speak with your BIC about that, or I can put another video out later. But just as an example, this is, you're going to go through here and fill it out as applicable to your client's goals and priorities. And then the single family version of the prop type, this will open up here. There's a lot of data to be put in there. Just a couple of things, if it has an asterisk next to it, those are required information. Remember, just some of our firm's policy is do not put any school information in there at all. You're not going to put any reference to square footage in there, even in public remarks. Like if they have a huge yard of whatever square footage, don't put that in there. Make sure this information is accurate. The things in the parentheses with R is required, and we typically don't fill this in at all, this section here. And then when you're done, let's just assume for a moment that you've completed all of this and you filled all of this out. I get this sent to me in so many variety of different formats, and I've asked for PDF. So check with your BIC again to see how they like it. But it's super simple. Just click on Save as PDF, and then you can click all these documents that you intend on sending over to them. Or your computer can freeze. There we go. Okay, so I selected all of them. That's the ones that I'm going to convert to a PDF. You hit next. You can either save it in one PDF or multiple PDFs. Again, this is just up to you, up to your conversation that you have with your BIC. You're going to change it to save to my device. And let's say you want to save it as separate PDFs. You hit next. It'll ask you to download it as a zip file. If you only have one document, it'll save it as a PDF immediately. But if it's multiple, then it'll save it as a zip file. Let's see if I can open this up. So I've unpacked it, and this is our test file, so it's all in here. So what this allows you to do now, all these documents here, assuming that they're correct, they're all in a PDF format, and now you can send them to your BIC. So some BICs prefer that you email them these documents first so they can review them. Some don't mind that you send it via DocuSign. I will tell you though, just so you guys know, when you send stuff to your BIC via DocuSign, they can't review the details of it if they're not sitting in front of a computer, because on a mobile device, DocuSign continues to resize things. So it might take longer for your BIC to review it if you don't send it to them via email first. Again, just check with your BIC to see how they prefer to get it. But if you don't follow their suggestions, it will likely cause delays. But now this is ready to send via DocuSign. So you can jump into DocuSign. I don't need this one open anymore. So I can go into DocuSign, upload these documents. I like to stay consistent with the order in which I have everything, because that way it's easier to track and easier to find. I'm opening up DocuSign, obviously opening up a new envelope. You can also create templates. I'll create a different instructional video for that as well. I'm gonna move me over here, upload, and this is again assuming that my BIC reviewed it already, likes it, said yes, great job, have the client sign it, and then the BIC signs afterwards. So on listings, client signs, BIC signs, but BIC reviews first. And on purchases, the BIC reviews and signs first. So it's a little opposite. So being consistent with the order in which everything else was, and then this, I'll drag this over here. So that's it. So now I put it in, it's in the same order, so it's consistent with how the BIC reviewed it when you emailed it to them and they said, yes, that's good to go, and the client signed it. Some of my clients will choose to send it to both me. So just assuming that this is the BIC, this is the seller. You can set that order and set it in the same segment, same envelope. So you can, I'm sure all of you know how to use DocuSign fine. So you can send it that way, put a message. I would change this wording. A lot of times people send it like this, and when you can send it to the seller, that's what comes up of the subject line. So So, make it applicable so that not only does the BIC know what they're getting, but also the seller. And then you can fill in and add the signatures. So I hope that's helpful in terms of how to find certain things. And please feel free to email me if you guys have any questions on anything else that I might be able to better assist you with. Take care, guys.